Hello everyone, once again welcome to PM Networking. Guys, today in this video we are going to discuss how to configure neighbor peer group in BGP. Right guys, I must tell you this is a part of CCI by the way, but don't worry, you will get each and everything, right? So we are going to configure neighbor peer group in BGP. You can see this is my network, this is my enterprises network, right? This is my enterprises network and we have two connectivity from ISP. So in this video I am not going to discuss about ISP connectivity, how we will configure BGP over here, right? Today we are going to discuss how to configure BGP in this enterprises network, right? And how we configure neighbor peer group, right, in BGP. So suppose this is my board, okay, and suppose we have some router over here. Suppose we have three router R1, R2 and R3. This is R1, R2 and R3. Okay. If I will configure BGP 100 over here, BGP 100 over here and BGP 100 over here. Guys, if we have one LAN over here, that is 10.0.0.0/8. R1 will share this network information with R2, right, through BGP update. But R2 will not share this prefix with R3, right? In that case you have to configure root reflector, right? Remember the loop avoidance mechanism in IBGP. So what we can do over here is we can convert this topology in full mesh neighborship topology, right? We can form neighborship of R1 to R2 as well as to R3, indirect neighborship, indirect IBGP neighborship and direct IBGP neighborship, right? So if we have three router R1, R2 and R3, right? What we can do, we can form neighborship between R1 and R2 and we can form neighborship between R2 and R3, right? Then my mesh topology will like this, right? R1, R3 and R1, R2, okay, like this, right? Now R2 is neighbor of R3 and you can see there is any difference. This is your physical topology, this is your physical topology and this is your BGP topology, right? R1 is neighbor of R2 and R3, R2 and R3, R3 is neighbor of R2 and R1, R2 is neighbor of R1 and R3, right? And guys, understand, if I will configure BGP over here, right? So how many network I have to run over here, right? So first of all router, BGP, after that AS number 100, after that neighbor 2.2.2.2 remote AS, right? After that neighbor 3.3.3.3 remote AS, right? After that if I will apply authentication, then authentication command neighbor 3.3.3.3 password Cisco 123, okay. If we will have one more router over here, then we will configure the same thing again. If we have one more router, then we will configure this. You need to execute command again, right? So if we have 6 router, then we have to execute 4 commands 6 times. So it's very difficult, right? It's very difficult. So my scenario is same. My scenario is same. You can see, to form neighborship between R2 and R3, right? I am talking about BGP neighborship, right? Okay, from here to here we will run how many command? 2 command. Neighbor is this one and after that remote AS, neighbor this remote AS, neighbor 4.4.4 remote AS, neighbor 5.5.5 remote AS, neighbor 6.6.6 remote AS, right? In the same way on R3 I will configure neighbor 1.1.1 remote AS is 2.2.2 remote AS, 4.4.4 remote AS, 5.5.5 remote AS, 6.6.6 remote AS, right? So it's very complicated task by the way, right? You are getting my point? Okay. Now we have concept of neighbor peer group. Okay. So I am going to create one group over here, right? Let me show you practically. Okay, so first of all, for connectivity in this router I will configure Ospf, right? In my enterprises network, I will configure Ospf for internal connectivity. Ospf process ID 100 and area 0. After that, I will configure BGP 100. Okay. So guys, I already configure IP address in this topology. Let me show you R1. So IP interface brief exclude unassigned. You can see. So I already configure IP address on all these router, right? R1, R2, R3, R4, R5 and R6, right? Actually, I am running network 13.1.1.0/24 between R1 and R2. Between R1 and R4, I am running 14 network. Between R1 and R2, I am running 12 network, right? Between R3 and R5, I am running 35 network, right? So you can see, right? So I already configured this IP address on the interface of router. Now I am going to configure Ospf on R1 first. Okay, let me start from router 1. For internal connectivity, before configuring BGP, we need to configure one IGP protocol over here, or you can configure static routing as well, but you can imagine how complicated this task is to configure a static routing in this network. Okay, but if my network will large, right, then we never configure a static routing. Okay, so let me configure Ospf router, Ospf process ID 100 and network 0.0.0.0 and wildcard mask is 255.255.255.255, right? Through this command, Ospf will enabled on all the interface, right? And we have one loopback over here as well, right? Loopback 1 on R1, loopback 2, 2.2.2.2 on R2, 3.3.3 on R3. Okay, Ospf. After that, router ID 1.1.1.1 and network 0.0.0 255.255.255.255. Okay, and area 0. Okay, now let me configure Ospf on R2. Go to configure terminal, router Ospf 100 and router ID 2.2.2.2 and network is 0.0.0.0 255.255.255.255 and area 0. Let me configure Ospf on R3 router Ospf 100 router ID 3.3.3.3 and network is 0.0.0 sub wildcard mask is 255.255.255 and area 0. Okay, go to R4 router Ospf 100 and network 0.0.0 255.255.255.255 and area 0. Okay, go to R5 router Ospf 100 and guys on R5 this is my WAN interface, right? I will not advertise WAN interface in Ospf, right? So router ID is 5.5.5.5. Have I configured router ID on R4? Let me check. Okay, so router ID is 4.4.4.4. Okay, now go to R5 router ID is after that network is 0.0.0 255.255.255.255 and area 0, right? Go to R6, configure terminal, router Ospf 100 and router ID 6.6.6.6 and network is 0.0.0 255.255.255.255 and area 0. Okay, set. Let me remove this command. No, exit. I will configure Ospf on serial 2/1 and serial 2/0. Okay, so interface serial 2/0 IP Ospf 100 and area 0. Exit. Interface serial 2/1 IP Ospf 100 and area 0. go to R5 as well, right? Let me remove this command. No. After that, interface serial 2/0 IP OSPF 100 and area 0. Exit interface serial 2/1 IP OSPF 100 and area 0. Okay, exit interface fast Ethernet 0/0 IP OSPF 100 and area 0. Okay, let me show you. So IP OSPF neighbor, right? So neighbor of this router is 6.6.6 and 3.3.3, right? 4.4.4 is not neighbor. Let me check R4. So IP OSPF neighbor. So 5.5.5 is not neighbor. Let me ping 45.1.1.5. So yes, this router is able to ping. Let me check the configuration of R5. So IP protocol. Okay, so IP protocol. So routing for 1.1.6.6.6, 1.1.4.4.4. so IP OSPF neighbor. So you can see here is neighbor, right? 4.4.4.4 as well. Okay, so go to R1 and let me show you the routing table of R1. So IP root. So IP root OSPF. So guys, yes, 2.2.2, 3.3.3.3, 4.4.4.4, right? And 5.5.5. Why not 5.5.5? Wait. Dot 4.5 dot and 6 dot. Okay, so let me advertise this loopback in OSPF as well, right? Actually, I forget to advertise loopback over here. So go to R5. After that, router, no, interface loopback 1, IP OSPF 100 and area 0. Let me run same command on R6. Interface loopback 1, IP OSPF 100 and area 0. Okay, exit. Now let me show you the routing table of R1. Same command. You can see there is 5.5.5, 6.6.6, right? So now connectivity is fine. Now I need to configure BGP, right? Now we need to configure BGP over here, right? Now I am going to configure BGP peer group on R1. So go to R1. Go to R1 to configure terminal mode. Go to configure terminal mode. After that, router BGP 100, right? And neighbor. This time I am not going to define neighbor. I am going to create one group. So name of that group is suppose IBGP. Okay, name of that group is IBGP and peer group. Enter. After that, neighbor IBGP, and remote as is 100. Enter. Neighbor IBGP, and you need to run this command as well. Update source loopback 1. Okay, after that, if you want to apply authentication, you don't need to do anything. Neighbor IBGP and password is suppose Cisco 123. Okay, this is my password, right? Now guys, let me copy this command first. Do show history, right? So this command, I am going to copy this command from here to here. Okay, let me paste this in notepad. Let me paste this one in notepad. So notepad. Okay, so this is my command. Just wait. Okay guys, after that configure terminal, router BGP 100 and neighbor is 2.2.2.2, and for this neighbor use that I will tell to router to use that group, right? If you enter question mark you will get lot of option, right? So don't confuse. Now I am going to tell to R1 that use peer group I BGP, this one, right? Enter. Now you can see the neighbor table of BGP. So IP BGP summary. So there is one neighbor, but this neighbor is down. This neighbor is down. Let me run same command on R2. So this command, right? I am going to copy it. Control A, Control C. After that, go to configure terminal mode and run this command. Now neighbor is 1.1.1.1 and peer group I BGP. Okay, in the same way neighbor is 1.1.1 and 3.3.3.3 and 4.4.4.4 and 5.5.5.5 and 6.6.6.6. okay, in the same way on R1 configure terminal, router BGP 100 and neighbor is 3.3.3.3, right? For that use group peer group I BGP. Okay, 3.3.3, 4.4.4, 4.4.4.4, right? 5.5.5.5, 5.5.5.5. okay, so first of all 6.6.6. okay, configuration, BGP configuration of R1 and R2 is done, right? Now let me minimize R1. So IP BGP summary on R2 you can see neighbor is, let me maximize it, neighbor is 1.1.1.1, but this neighbor is up, and neighbor is 3.3.3.3, this is down, neighbor is 4.4.4 down, 5.5.5 down, 6.6.6 down, right? Okay, now we have this command to create peer group. Now let me run this command on R3, exit. Okay, after that neighbor is 1.1.1.1, peer for this neighbor is I BGP, neighbor is 2.2.2, right? Neighbor is 3.3.3.3, okay, no, 3.3.3, 4.4.4, 3.3.3 is directly connected to this router, right? 4.4.4.4 and 5.5.5.5, 5.5.5.5 and 6.6.6.6, okay. Do show history. Okay, let me copy this command as well. Okay, Control plus C, where is here, Control plus C, let me paste this in notepad. Okay, so now first we need to run this command on R4. On R4, go to R4, configure terminal. After that run this command. Okay, after that this command. Okay, so neighbor is, I am running this command on R4, so neighbor is not 3.3.3, neighbor is 3.4.4.4.4, so 1.1.1.1, 2.2.2.2. let me remove this line. okay, and 3.3.3.3. okay. Now guys, copy this one, okay, Control plus C and run this command. Okay, now go to R5, exit. First of all, this command, where on R5, okay. After that, this command, right, not 5.5.5.5, 4.4.4.4 over here, 4.4.4.4. let me copy it, Control plus C and paste it. Okay, now go to R6. On R6, first of all I will run this command, Control plus C, R6, paste it. Okay, after that this command. So note 6.6.6.6 here is 5.5.5.5. okay, Control plus C, paste it over here. Okay, now guys see, so IP BGP summary, right? So just wait for some time. This neighbor is down. You can see neighbor is 1.1.1.1, neighbor is 2.2.2.2, 3.3.3.3, 4.4.4.4, 5.5.5.5. so this is how you can configure BGP peer group, right? Otherwise, how many command we need to run on R1? We need to run on R1. So first of all, router BGP 100. After that, neighbor is 2.2.2.2. remote AS is 100. After that, neighbor 2.2.2.2 and update source loopback 1. After that, neighbor 2.2.2.2, password Cisco 123, right? We need to run 1 2 3 4 command 6 times on this router, right? 6 times in this router if we have 6 router only, right? If we have 100 router, then we need to run 100 command 100 times this command, right, on this router. So instead of doing this, we can create one group, right, peer group in BGP. Okay, so that's all for today. In next video we will discuss path attribution. Okay, next topic. So this is part of CCI, but as I told you that I will cover each and everything in BGP series, so that's why it's a small topic which I covered in this network, in this video, right? And for upcoming video, I will save this topology. In the same topology we will discuss in further video in upcoming video. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you, thanks for watching. Bye bye. If you like this video, please hit on like button. If you haven't subscribed my channel, right, please subscribe this channel. Okay, thank you.